Hey guys, well, it's Monday, and of course, last night the 4th episode of Season 3 of The Walking Dead aired. And pretty much, of course, here's my little review for it, as y'all should know by now what I'm trying to do. Well, last night's episode aired, and it was, it was The Killer Within, the episode was titled. And pretty much this episode mainly focused on Rick's group in the prison. We did get a few, back and forth shots of, the prison and Woodbury, with Andrea Michonne. And pretty much the main focus was Rick's group in the prison. This time around, pretty much what happens is there's someone that pretty much is, well, what happened was pretty much someone, at the beginning of the episode we see someone dragging a deer carcass, and pretty much chops it, cuts it in half, the rest of it in half, and hangs the hind part up and leaves the rest on the ground near it, pretty much, which draws the attention of two zombies. And as they're eating, this mysterious figure is seen cutting open the gate to the prison. And pretty much, a few scenes later, Herschel is up and walking around, and pretty much, I think it's he and Beth, I believe, and pretty much everyone is watching, glad he's okay. Then all of a sudden we see a horde of zombies approaching from behind him, and pretty much everyone starts panicking. And pretty much the zombies have because whoever this person was and he opened up the fence, and because of that, a horde of zombies have overrun the prison, which sends everyone into a panic. And pretty much the group ends up splitting, going in different directions for safety. Herschel and Beth, they end up locking themselves in this little fenced-in area at the top of these stairs. And that's pretty much their entire role for tonight's episode. As I don't recall seeing them again until the end of the episode, so pretty much then Rick, what's his name? Rick, Glenn, and Daryl go in one direction. It's them, T-Dog and Carol are together, and who was the other group? Oh yeah, Carl, Lori, and Maggie. They run off in their little direction for safety. They all end up getting separated, and unfortunately, Lori. It's at this point that Lori ends up going to labor, and to get away from the zombies that have them cornered, they run into this room and lock themselves in. And pretty much, that's one of the major plot points of this episode is Lori essentially goes into labor, and Maggie has to perform the C-section on her, and since unfortunately, Herschel is not there to do it, and neither is Carol, who was practically known as Dead Zombie one time. So pretty much though, this episode, it was actually two major character deaths that happened, last night. And one was Lori, and who died during the childbirth. And the other was T-Dog, who died to help Carol get to safety. I was kind of sad, to be honest with you. I was kind of sad about T-Dog getting killed last night because, as a random story, I don't think I've ever told this before about The Walking Dead, but way back in Season 1, when the show, first 2 or 3 episodes, I actually thought T-Dog was going to end up being my favorite character. Until it got to the point where it became a running joke with everybody about how little used and all that the show was towards him or whatever. But yeah, it was sad to see him go though. Lori, I'm not that sad about. Yeah, I mean, it was a sad scene, but I can't really say I'm up in arms, about her death. But whatever. Pretty much though, and the saboteur, the guy who let all the zombies in himself. Before we get into that, let me just say, well, Yeah, the episode itself, I actually really enjoyed the episode. I think this is probably the best episode of the season. This was actually an edge of your seat kind of episode. That I mean it kept your attention. That's for sure. And and once again though, it gave me another what moment. But I'll get into that in a minute. The guy who pretty much the person who let the zombies into the prison. It's not revealed. It's not revealed who it is until towards the end of the episode. And the thing is, it wasn't a big shock. I mean, you can pretty much figure it. I mean, spoilers or not, you can pretty much figure out who it is at the beginning of the episode, like the first scene or two. So it's not a big surprise. And basically it was Andrew, the prisoner, one of the prisoners from earlier in the season. Which brings me to my... what? Moment. How did he escape, when Rick locked him out? The man was clearly screaming in pain. I mean, that's my thing. He was clearly screaming in pain. I mean... Alright, okay. Never mind. We're going to move on from that before I get into like a full rant mode about it. Heaven knows I've done that every episode so far. But, yeah, pretty much it turned out it was him. And pretty much he attacks Rick in the boiler room. Oh yeah, pretty much one of the prisoners, Oscar, who happens to be my father's name, oddly, the tall black guy, they all run into the boiler room. I'm not sure what happened to Axel, because I didn't notice that, but Andrew ends up attacking Rick in the boiler room, and pretty much Rick drops his gun or whatever, and pretty much he's caught between Andrew and Oscar, who's holding the gun, and it's pointing at Andrew and Rick. And like Andrew is all like, shoot him, man, and all that. Then basically say like how they could take back the prison and everything. And Oscar ends up shooting Andrew and killing him instead. So I take it Oscar is probably going to replace T-Dog, starting next episode. The Woodbury scenes, they could have left those out. I probably would have missed them. This episode. So anyway. So what I thought about a few, so I'm not really seeing what's so great about Michonne, honestly. I remember everybody was so excited about her being in this season. I don't know, maybe she's better in the comics, but I don't know. Personally, I'm getting kind of tired of the character already. Because I mean, the thing is, all I've mainly seen her do in every episode she's been in is just basically just stand around scowling at everybody, and it's starting to get pretty old, honestly. I mean, yeah, sure, she's killed a few zombies, but who hasn't at this point on the show? So I don't know. I mean, Michonne she's getting a little old for me. Although she is starting to investigate the governor and his story about the National Guard and all that. So she's pretty much starting to prove her suspicion she's starting to prove her suspicion about the governor right. So bottom line though, like I said, I think this is probably the best episode this season so far. I would probably give it an 8 out of 10. So yeah, that's pretty much my review for this episode. Yeah. See, I don't think there's anything else I wanted to talk about. Oh yeah, there is one thing I wanted. I mean, probably one of the best scenes in the episode was at the end when they get rid of all the zombies, and basically they all start regrouping in the main yard. Maggie and Carl come out. They appear with the baby, who basically is going to be a big departure from the comics, because apparently in the show, the baby, I mean in the comics, both Lori and the baby die towards the end of the prison arc, but here I guess the baby is going to survive, so that's going to be interesting to see what they do with that. Even though Yeah, it could go either way, I guess. But basically, though, like when Rick sees Lori, Maggie, the baby, and Carl, but not Lori. Basically, he basically starts breaking down and crying, and probably one of the best acted scenes, you know, of the episode, and maybe even the entire series. Personally, I mean, I think so. But yeah, I mean, he put a lot of emotion to it, so I gotta give Andrew Lincoln that. I mean, he did pretty well in that scene. I really liked it, so that was good. Yeah, but anyway, bottom line, 8 out of 10, and well, that's my little rambling review for this episode. So thanks for watching, and I guess I'll see you guys next time.